I'm gonna rock the cardigan today.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I like it.
It was a little, a little nice.
I like the
Yeah, no, I like the cool crisp air.
Look at that. I'm like, oh, it's like right in my,
Yeah, well, really work, Jack.
I gotta change that background. This is my other Zoom account. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So, just from last week, I'll just quickly breeze through. Let's see, I was gonna do Kessler. I just did the CMA yesterday. I'll quickly breeze through the CMA again for anyone that might not have seen it. And then today we were gonna go over the comping portion of that bulk portion of how I do my CMAs and I use, it's called Cloud CMA on MLS. It's just opening up, so I should have opened it before we started. Here it is.
He wants everyone to type questions in the chat.
If you guys could type any questions in the chat bar, if you have any questions, Carolyn's going to read them in time.
Today's Stephen's birthday.
So again, here's the CMA again. I'm just going to quickly breeze through it. I'm going to keep it open so you can see the tabs on the side. We went over this last week with a different property. This is Kessler. I don't know, Ave Street in Lynn. We have so I show up, as I've told everyone before, I have my folder. I have this printed and not laminated, binded. We have a binding machine in every office. I have other little sheets in my folder. And then I sit with them with the computer in front of me after I walk around the house with them and get to know the house. And I sit and I do this presentation. I have a team, so I have these team pages. We've talked about the resume page and everyone should build their own. We have the office. I like to talk about that we have 6 locations. People tend to like to hear about this page. I've only actually sat with maybe 3 different people since I've created this page, and it's been this page has been a hit. I tend to stop and we end up talking for a little bit right here, so it's nice. I have a diamond club from last year, so I usually skip over this, to be honest, but it's important to talk about your accolades and the amount of volume you do. Public record, this is patriotproperties.com. We went over this last cost. This is MLS. Again, Patriot Properties. This house is being currently rented. So there's people living in the house on Kessler. What was it? So I'm not saying the wrong street. Kessler Ave in Lynn. So I did this market analysis in their house on Megan's Way. And we just looked at it together and spoke about the house. I didn't get to walk around this house. Here's the deed. This was the wife's family's house at one point, and they inherited it not too long ago. I wasn't able to find a plot plan, so I didn't have a page for that. I mapped it. I could see that it had a pool. So this was my only information I really had on the house was what I could find. The topography, I know that the field has a little bit of a wet spot and we're close to the river. So I wanted to just talk about that a little bit. Looks like there might be a little bit of ledge or in the backyard. The Zestimate Realtor in Redfin, they actually looked at this prior. So this was a great page. There's no space right there. So we talked about how Redfin was a little lower and so this was great. So we were able to talk about how these numbers aren't necessarily anything to marry. And then properly pricing. I always use the Terry charts. So this was awesome. These charts are just awesome because if they were numbers people, they love these charts. They love just comparing. For some reason, I broke it down by month. I usually do it by quarter when I'm going this far back. I must not have paid attention to what I was doing. But anyway, it's still pretty awesome to look at them. And then the next pages is what we're going to go over today, which is how I do my comping pages yep. I just want to just mention real quick,
if you didn't go to the CMA Part 1 class, everything Katie just breezed through was what she covered during that class. And that is up on our YouTube page. So if you need the link to that class, email me after the class and I can send you the link. And you can go page by page through all of that stuff that Katie just breezed through.
And I don't think this class is going to be very long today, honestly. So if there are questions, we can probably cover it at the end when people can probably. This CMA I will put in the shared drive. I have my one from last class. I think I put in the shared drive, but I'll put this one as well. So these are the comping pages. So I map the properties and then I do a side-by-side comparison and I circle what I want. Basically, I'm arrowing and circling what I want to talk about in front of the seller, because sometimes we're just like, I'm sitting and holding my laptop. Sometimes I'm opening the book and I don't have the laptop and I'm a little disheveled and I forget my talking points. So I wanted to remember, okay, this house was built in 2006. It's a 1949 house that we're talking about. So I made sure I circled it so I didn't not talk about that, because it might not be as good of a comp as maybe something else. I usually do that with garages. If there's like a 2-car garage, but the house of subject has no garage, I'll circle the 2-car garage. Super important, and we'll get there. This system doesn't pull over information 100% accurate all the time. You have to double check everything. So like it said that this house had 1 bath. I should have picked up on it, but I added the half bath after the fact in the system versus redoing the whole thing in the CMA or editing the CMA iCloud or whatever. This ended up being just a terrible comp. I don't know why I left it in there, but I circled all the things that weren't comparable. It's a split. It's not even a colonial. And some more that were in the neighborhood, super small lot on this house. So I circled it. And this was a 1900 house. Sometimes I don't realize I'm picking poor comps until I'm looking at them side by side myself. And then I go, okay, then you kind of can get to which, that's why I like to pick as up to 9 comparables at times. This is 9 comparables here. So I have 3, then 3 more. The subject is always on the left. I like to choose that one. You can actually put these in so that you're just doing the 3 comparables without the subject. I like having the subject on the left because then that's the way that I talk to the seller and it works for me. And then the next is just a couple charts. Well, the next page is typically, I actually put in the property MLS and then the photos. So top page, bottom page. I didn't do that here. I had it on my desktop, which I've since thrown away. Unfortunately, I can always pop it in before I put this in the drive. So it will be, in the meantime, I'll open another one that I probably did that like the last one. I'll open 10 East Park. It's a better example. So again, map, side-by-side comparables, and then here's a property in the interior pictures. That's important when the seller thinks that they're worth a top notch and all the comparables are newly renovated, they're not. So it's like, those are the things that sometimes it's just good to have those photos right in the CMA. It's just a lot of paper to print. So if I'm printing it, sometimes I'll print it, then put those pages in, just because sometimes it just makes the thing like 60 pages long. It's a really thick book, which our binder can handle that amount of paper. It's just sometimes I just feel like it's wasteful, honestly. So there's some more charts. I like this one because it shows year built, square foot, lot size. It just puts it real simple, that you can, 3 bedrooms versus 4 bedrooms. And then I always pop in a couple more charts. These are auto generated from the system, so it's great. And then I always predetermined a value. This house, I ended up getting more towards 500 after talking it through with them and all the updates of the house. But I pick my, and I say that when I get to this page, I'll say, I like to do my numbers before I come, because I'll show up, I'll get to meet you, and I end up falling in love with you, and I want to tell you what you want to hear, and that's not servicing you. What's servicing, if I tell you the real value, and an appraiser is non-emotional, they want to see a colonial, the square foot, location, I go through those. How many sellers think that they're comparable to a colonial when they're a ranch? Yeah. Like that's all the time. So that's when you explain to them, or I explain to them, what they need to look for a comparable. Cause I'm kind of just telling them, like, go find it. I might not have it here. If you can find me a comp that's similar street, start here, and then the appraiser goes out. They're not gonna go grabbing a comp from far away if there's a comp right next door. That's a colonial with 1-car detached garage, same square foot, built the same year. That's what they're looking for. So, and then usually at the end, right before I get to this page, I'll say, well, what do you think you're worth? And after we've gone through all the comps together, and they usually say, well, I was hoping 525, but after seeing this, I'm thinking maybe 5. And I'm like, and then I get to the page and like, ta-da, and then we usually, I didn't know that you had the finished lower level. And now that I see that you have the renovated bath, I was going off of your old photos. So I can sometimes justify why it's lower or higher right here. That's why I'm a one-stop shop, because there's no reason to go back again. I'm already doing my work up front. Sometimes I'll show up, which happened recently at a house on Sheehan Road in Lynn. I showed up and I had to throw my CMA away because the house was so nice and way different than I had expected. We revisited a second time just because it was not what I expected. That does happen sometimes. So the rest of the pages are what we already went over. You can see them on the left. I'll just, for the people that didn't see them, we have the floor plans, the photography and drone, and any of these can be just deleted. If you just click the button delete, it goes off, it disappears. Virtual staging, the custom landing page. We all get these from Remax automatically. So we all have this. So this is a great page. I purchased from GoDaddy, the URL typically. I've recently not done it for a couple houses because the Remax shortener I'm starting to enjoy. I don't think it's that complicated for people to remember it. Here's just some of the open house presentation pages. I'm not doing binders during COVID, so we have this QR. We all have the QR codes. You can put in your own property here from a flyer in the Google Drive. You get those emails with your new listing. And then preparing your home for list. I told you all last time, I always do a house cleaning service. If they already have cleaners, I'll offer to clean the house on the way out or offer to clean their next house because my cleaners are so cheap. It's just, usually that sells them to use me, which is, it's awful, but it's the truth. So it's just if I'll get a listing because I'm going to clean their house, I'll clean every house. So it's just something that I've been doing. These can be deleted. You just have to highlight over it and then you can click delete and you can arrange them as you just want to highlight over all the words and then you can move it as a package. So that, if you don't want to have all these, maybe it's too busy for you. Sometimes I don't find myself talking on every point because there's a lot on each page. That's just me and how I digest things even though I know these pages by heart, it depends on like my company and who I'm sitting across and what they want to hear. We have the e-signing, obviously dot loop, communications key, like something important to talk about. I use Google Drive for my communication, especially with COVID. A lot of people don't care to meet. So I put all my offers in Google Drive. So I have this page here. This is in your draft CMA. If you don't do Google Drive, just delete it. And I do my offer spreadsheet, which I did put the template of my offer spreadsheet in the Google Drive for everyone to have access to. It's just name a buyer, lender, agent, offer deadline, just because sometimes people give shorter deadline than requested, and then offer, like so on, money back at closing and notes. It's all in the Google Drive and it's all editable. This page is surprising that people don't know. If they sit with other agents aren't telling them they need a smoke and a water certificate to close on the house in hand. So this is just great information that I'm sharing that sometimes gets me the deal because they'll say, no, the other agents didn't tell me that I needed to get those. Ian, you told me you were going to help me with them. This page, I think I got this from a Terry class a long time ago, but it was like a year prior and I still find it every year. Whatever company makes this, I've been able to locate it. And I think that more than 60% of buyers are searching on their cell phones personally, but that is what I found from the Realtor Association. So I just left this 60%, but I think it's more. Here is our social media marketing, which I also think is probably greater than 30,000 if we combine all of our socials and the amount of connections, but I like to undershoot it than overpromise. Okay, I'm almost done, and then we can answer. And then this is the new that we're the #1 real estate brokerage for franchises. I think it's an attractive page. Remax comes out with this every year. This is the newest up-to-date us against the competition. I think this is super valuable because we do more sides. Anything that you should interrupt me for? Yeah.
Okay, so we had 2 questions in the chat. The first was from Sean. Okay, good.
Sorry.
I've been building my CMA. I'm going to be presenting on Keynote to a potential listing. Oh, hold on. Oh, I just lost my Zoom. Hold on. On Monday, my question is with social distancing, how are you sitting with the sellers?
I can hear myself echoing. I'm lucky that, a lot of my sellers will meet me at the door and like, I hate to say, this is the truth. They don't have a mask on. I'll have a mask on and then I won't say, I usually just prefer to keep it on. We'll walk around and then when we sit, I'll sit the farthest away from them and say, do you mind if I take my mask off? I do take it's the truth. So sorry if this isn't what somebody like, I'd rather just tell you what I do than might not be what you want to hear. And then I do the presentation. I do put it back on before I leave. I don't care if the other person doesn't has a mask or not. I just don't want them close, like walking with me super close or breathing on me. If they are, sometimes they'll go, oh, my mask, 'cause they'll see me wearing one. Cause they're in their home. So I think people just forget when they're in their own home to put one on. I did do a CMA at Birchbrook 24, like recently. And I didn't go to the house. I did a Zoom. It was the first time I had done that since COVID. They asked for an appointment. I did a CMA and because I thought that's what they wanted to do. I actually thought I was going to the house and then I confirmed the appointment and she said, if you don't mind, send me a Zoom link. I was like, oh, and we did it on Zoom and they hired me at the end and they said they wanted to use me. That's why they didn't even walk around the house. I know Birchbrook, it's new construction. It was just built 2 years, but otherwise I probably would have asked them to use their cell phone or if they had to walk around with their computer and show me the house, show me the heat. I guess I would have done that with them, but I already know those units because everything's new. So they didn't have to give me a tour. But no, I usually just sit at the dining room table far away. Some people like I'm in Lynn, so I work with all different sorts of houses. Some people's houses are just a mess. They're having me come in early and we're sitting at the living room couch and I'm sitting in one chair with my laptop on my lap.
He was asking, do you present on a computer or with printouts?
I 100% try to do it on the computer. If they're modern, I will try to do it on their TV. So I've only been so lucky, like maybe 5 times total in the past like 4 years. But if I feel all you have to do is connect to their Wi-Fi and screen play if they have a smart TV or Apple TV, and then you can sit on their couch with them and you're looking at their big screen TV. Or I'll just sit at the table and turn my computer around. Most of the time it's on my computer turned around. And then sometimes you can just tell you're not going to sit with them. And I'll either use the book or I will just hand them the book and we'll talk and I'll go right to the comp pages in the book. But most of the time it's at the dining room table with the laptop open. Sorry if I went too far to the left, if that wasn't the question.
Are you going to go through how to do the side-by-side comparables? They were asking where
Yep.
to get the side-by-side.
We're going to go to MLS next. I wanted to just, for the people that maybe didn't go to the first class, I just wanted for them to understand the full CMA, which pretty much I'm at the end of.
And then there's one more question.
Yep, go ahead.
And then the last question was, where do you get the landing pages? I think the Remax website she's talking about.
The landing page.
You get them off GoDaddy. You pay for the URL.
Oh, the URL. Yes. The URL I get on GoDaddy.com and I have it's usually $12, but I finally gave in and spoke to somebody and now I'm a GoDaddy member. It doesn't cost me anything. And now I pay, I think $8 and like 89 cents per URL. I subscribe for 1 year with it and it auto goes away after 1 year. I don't own it anymore. So yeah, I GoDaddy and I joined as a member. So I'm paying 8 something instead of 12 something.
Or Zosha gives you the free ones, but they're not the address.
Yeah, or Zosha has the link to the Remax one, but then we use a URL shortener. I did that on Glenwood. I didn't purchase one for some reason. And I was like, that's too, I'd already put it out there and I was like, it wasn't worth spending the $8. So this on Kessler, they're moving to Montana and Florida. They're selling and they're buying 2 houses in 2 different locations. So I put this page in, I screenshot. There is a place where people who are part of the Chairman Tightner Diamond Club, they have like a referral network. So it's not just, there's 100 referral networks, right? I was just looking for an attractive photo so we could talk about it. Because this is a placeholder for a conversation that we know people, after seeing the chart here, that we do more sides. You can pretty much trust any RE/MAX agent, but we can find you the right agent. And they're gonna take our advice and work with a RE/MAX agent in Florida and Montana. So this page, I don't think we would have had the conversation if I didn't placehold it. And that's it. So COVID page, I have Lynn's #1 office in here. If you guys are out of PB or Gloucester, we have these for you as well. My reviews, and then the net proceeds, we have the blank one, but I do pay for the water lien certificate and the smoke certificate. So this is just that moment, like I have value. And then we just talk about, we usually I have this printed out in the folder when we sit and we write out the numbers for what their net proceeds are. So let's go back up. So we're going to go over to MLS.
I'm just going to pause for 1 second. You got to turn your volume down. When you're going through pulling in your comps, Claire asked if there's a way to bring a non-MLS comp into your CMA.
Yes, I believe there is. Yes, I believe there is.
Subject property.
I do it a little lazy. And I usually end up just pulling over the Patriot property sheet separate from the comparables. And that's probably not the best way, but yes, you can. Actually, let's just do a CMA. And then when we get to that portion, we'll stop and I'll say, and this is where you can add one. So when I'm building, the first thing I do is I want to comp the house. So when you open iCloud CMA, I call it iCloud CMA. I don't know why I add an I, because I think I'm a Mac person, but it's Cloud CMA. It opens in a new window. So you can go back and search for your comps here. Cloud CMA offers a tool that they'll comp it for you by clicking a button, but I just don't believe in computer generated comparables. So I never use that feature. So, I'm going to stay here for a second. So you'll want to create a new report, CMA. It's loading. And then you want to type your address. So what was my address? Was it 82 Kessler? I might be spelling that wrong. And then it should auto fill right here as you write it. So let me actually find out if that's the correct address. Yep. Oh, Kessler, there it is, how you spell it. 82 and it will start popping up different Kessler, is it road? I want to find it here. Rentham, hold on. I might be spelling it wrong. Let me see. Boy, sorry about that. Oh, you're totally spelling wrong. Keslar. In Lynn. So when you click on it, it auto tells you with the square foot, bedrooms, baths. So here I already know it's saying that it has 1 bath. It might be pulling from, but here, public record, it was 1.5. And I do know from talking with them, it's 1.5. So I do 1.5. And then advanced info, I know has 1 car garage, and I know I want it to say 1 in that field on the bottom. The taxes doesn't matter so much because of the comparables. You're not going to see the other taxes. And then sometimes I worry even making any type of statement on that. Lot size is important. And then you want to put a photo in. So you're going to want a screenshot of the property on your desktop. So Command Shift 4 on a Mac, because it doesn't auto pull over. Add cover photo. And I go down to my screenshot.
So you don't put the taxes in?
I don't. You can. I'm just letting everyone know what I do. So by all means, if it's something that you want to have in there, I just don't want. Sometimes there's conversations I don't want to have in the middle of my CMA, and if the information's there, it's straight. So, and then here is where you want to put your MLS numbers. So you've been here. So let's just say, I want to do sold. You know what, sometimes I don't just do sold, I'll do what's under agreement and maybe on market as well, just because they might talk about those houses. And then I'm going to do 82 Kessler. Oop. 01905, and I want to do like a 0.2 radius because I want to see if there's any comps super close to the house. In Lynn, just in case we're bordering another town, it will pull those in if you don't specify to stay in Lynn. And I'm not going to go by square foot or anything like that. I'm just going to look for the results. And then from here, I'm like, okay, you know, and I can pick which comparables I think are most suitable. For the sake of this class, I did go ahead and I copy and pasted my comps so that I'm not sitting here actually pulling them over. But basically, you know, I would just copy the MLS number here, and I would go copy, hover over that, and then I would go over here and I would paste. And then every line enter. So you can separate by comma and do them across to the right. I do it by line. So that here are my comparables. If I clicked automatic find listings, it would have just the computer system would have comped it. And I don't like that. I've tried it actually, and it always pulls something weird over that. Here are my comparables, fetch listings. The system is a little slow, I will say. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, is it 2021? And here are my comparables. And so here they are in a map. So when you're going down, this is where add a listing, Claire, that you can add a house. So click, and then the address, beds, and then you can choose a photo. So you can add a comparable that maybe isn't a non-MLS that you know exists, that you want to be in a side-by-side. Like, for some reason, I just it's not as good. This is the better way to do it. I always just end up popping them in after the fact, which probably isn't as good as seeing them side by side with the other comparables. I like to make a big deal about this is a non-MLS and look, I found it for you. And like, I'm like, you know, obviously I'm like dramatic a little bit with these. So I'm updating. God, no one knows what I know. So then I'm on this page. So this is an important page if anybody wants to look into this deeper. I pretty much use the basics. So this is what's auto in mine. I haven't even looked at them. I don't use any of these. All I use is the charts and a couple of the charts. Like this is so robust. So all you got to do is click on each and you can see what it is and you can choose to have it in your market analysis or not. Like I don't use this page, but all these do pull over depending on what's over here. And then I download it to my desktop and I'm going to pull the pages over. I'm going to show you how I do that. But maybe some of these, I was just looking at these this morning because I was kind of like, so there's a lot of Tom Ferry pages. So maybe vetting buyers and offers. And there's a lot of words. I'm not about having lots of words in mind, but maybe you want to explain things in your market analysis that you're leaving behind. Understanding the listing contract. I think there's one about the difference between a market analysis and appraisal. So that, you know, depending on what you want to get across. Don't pick an agent based on the list price alone. And then MLS has already written, or Tom Ferry, I think, already wrote this for us, and we can use this as a page. I don't use any of these personally, but if you want to take time to look at them, like the moving checklist, this isn't bad. I want to make a moving checklist that's like a checkbox and a checklist. I want to also make like a staging advice, and maybe I'll put it in the side. And when I do get to this, guys, I'll share it. And maybe we can all maybe it can be a class and we can all have our input on what we want them to say. I also used to have something that said 12 questions to ask your agents. And the questions that I had were because my answers were awesome. Like they were like, because it was like I had the best answer. So you can make it for yourself to be like, and then like, you know, it is what it is. It's the truth. So it's like, it is what it is. Because you're selling yourself, you know, and like, are you full-time? Yes. Not only full-time, I have a team. Like all the things I wanted to say that maybe they didn't like know to ask. I put right in there. My team has changed so much that answers weren't correct anymore. So I have to like redo it at some point. But anyway, so
How did you get to this page?
I kept going forward. So,
just keep going.
yep, I kept moving forward. It says something different. Like, so stopping here. So you can change the font, click the font, no cover doesn't matter because I'm not actually printing and using this. I'm just pulling pages over. It doesn't matter to me. The layout. So the layout, this is where I pick the 4 next to each other. This is where I said you can also pick where your subject property isn't there. These are the comps only. There's other layouts where you're looking at them. You can see here a little visually different. I like this one where you're mapping the property, showing the property, and then the next page that we don't see is the pictures of the property. So in order to have both, this, and you have to actually download it to your desktop, then go back in and go back through it and then download unfortunately, you can't pick both. So I do download both separately. So here for theme, I have blue and silver. That's just what I picked. Another one, and I did take the time to save it to my desktop, is the modern feel. I actually was kind of digging it when I was looking at it a little while ago. I might switch. It looks like this. So I can't see the thumbnails unless I start scrolling down. Okay, here they are. So I don't use, as I said, I don't use a lot of those pages. So it looks different here, right? I like the way this looks. So this is if you click off modern, and then you can change the font. And I would do the same thing with this as I do with the one I have now. I would circle, I would put arrows, and those arrows are more for me for talking points, but it's also for them when they're looking at the book later that the arrows are there or the circles. Then I'll show you how to do that on Keynote because you do it after the fact. So again, I like the modern. I think I'm going to switch, but for the sake of what I've been showing, I have blue and silver. So scroll down and then I do blue and silver. So you could do red, you can do royal blue, because I zoom in on these, like I don't see the bottom bar, but you do see the top bar. So I like the navy blue look. So that's the theme I choose. It does every time you click something, this site is a little slow. So that was the theme, layout. Those are the two that are important here. Language, font, if you want to change the font, cover doesn't matter. Template, this is really which pages you want to pick, but I don't go there. So I'm not going to talk about it. Publish report. And then this is going to be where we'll say PDF in a second.
As you're doing that, we have a question. Christine's asking, does it automatically keep the subject property first on the side-by-side comparison? Or do you have to click something?
So I'm just going to download this first and then we'll go back. You do have to choose the correct one. So I just dragged that to my desktop. So back to CMA, I'm going to say there's no edit button. There used to be an edit button here. I got to go back to customize. Here it is here, layout. That's where you're picking what layout you want. I think you automatically might end up at the first one, which we do want, but this is the one, the very last one. You can see 4 boxes. That means the first one's always the subject property. The three boxes, they don't put the subject property. It's only the 3 comparables on each page without the subject property as the first one. So it's really up to how your style and what you like. I like having the subject property and its info because I'm comparing the subject property with the others so here's
And the second one you do
is photo with map. I prefer this one. This is all about your stuff. So you might be like, I like this one with the photos, or it's really just when I'm sitting with them and I'm looking at the CMA here. So Kessler doesn't have the photos. Let me see if I can open the other one. I think I had it under here. Here it is, East Park. So when I'm talking with them and we're at the comp pages, I'm like, all right, and here's the average sale price since this year. So here's the comparables. And again, I'm going to repeat, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I say, so chances is this is not a cash deal and you're going to need an appraisal. So the appraiser starts here at your property. And I literally put my finger right in the middle of my palm and they circle out. They want a house close in vicinity to your house, colonial, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, on the same type of busyness of a street, same year built, same year renovated. They want your exact house right next door to your house, which they're not going to find. So it's our job to try to figure out, well, what would an appraiser maybe use without ignoring any houses because you want a certain number. You need to actually just pick what they might pick. So, and I say, so here's the map, here's the side-by-side comparisons, and here's the listing with the photos. Rarely do I sit and actually go through the listing and the photos, but I'll say when you have some time later, make sure you take a look at all the photos and the condition. Because, I could sit literally with these sellers for hours if they wanted me to, and sometimes that happens, but that's the point of doing the photos and then the interior. It's just kind of giving them like, I'm not just throwing some comps at you. I'm actually like, we'll actually look at the inside. And sometimes it comes up when we're looking at the side by side and one's clearly super renovated. I'll skip down to the photos and be like, and they'll go, oh, whoa, okay, no, I understand. So here we go back to the layouts. So I want to pick the top and then publish, and then I'm going to download that to my desktop. So I'm going to have 2 PDFs on my desktop. Yeah, I'll look at the chat box, is it? If you can leave it next to me, just so I can make sure, because I'd have to have it popped up.
I'm stepping out, so Katie's going to keep an eye on the chat box. So just be patient if it takes her a few minutes to answer your question.
So you can see us right there.
Okay, that will pop up. And then do I click, can you click on it so I can just see it? Perfect.
So you just look for anything else.
Below Christine, okay. View PDF. And then I'll see you when you get back. View PDF, and I'm downloading it now. So I think that auto goes to my desktop. I have a habit of dragging it down. So we're gonna go back to Kessler. So these are already in here, but still. So see here are the 2. If you guys can see my desktop, right? Yep. I'll click on one of them, usually the one on the top. And then I scroll down so I can see everything, the tabs on the left. They're there. And then I'll drag it so that I can see them next to each other. So these, as I said, I just don't use these. They're auto, you know, I've heard from some sellers that agents do use the CMA from Toolkit or whatever, or Toolkit CMA or whatever this is, that I don't want the same thing as them. So I don't want the same pages, but I do use the chart. So you take this and you drag it right over.
Oh, wow.
Boom.
Thank you. That's worth every dollar.
Yep. So you don't have to screenshot every page. You just drag it over. So the difference is this is what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when you drag it over. I delete the 2 boxes in the back. I personally prefer to make it as large as possible. I don't have the best eyes. I'm assuming the people I'm with, and I'm sitting across a table. So I try to make it as large as possible. And that as easy as that. So I want to drag over all the pages. This second page, it just depends on how many comparable pages. So if you have 3, well, then you don't need it. But if you have 2, well, then you need a filler page, because remember, when you're printing it, it's top, bottom. So 2, 3, 4 is the top, 5 is the bottom, 6 is the top. So when you're counting the pages, and sometimes just do it at the end, and you can kind of just figure it out at the end. But so again, when you're deleting a page, I just click delete and it's gone. So that's as simple as that. So I drag all these over. And again, I have not taken the time to delete all these pages because it doesn't matter to me. I don't use them and they're there. It doesn't bother me that they're there. I guess I wouldn't have to look at them. I open the other one. For some reason, you only see the first thumbnail until you scroll. And then here they are. So this is a good one. So you'll see here that this one got split because this agent wrote so many words. So you just drag it over. Oops, I want to drag that down so you can drag it right in the thing. And then I take this, sorry, I move it over a little and I drag it right on the screen. And then there it is. Delete, delete. I used to actually screenshot all this. I didn't know I could just pull it over. And one day Zosha told me, what are you doing? And this has been such a time saver. You're just dragging and pulling over and popping it in, and that's it. So I'll delete that. And I think that's really the only tricks here. So then the other thing was to show everybody how I do the boxes and that happens throughout the CMA if I'm putting an arrow towards a plot plan, or it's just right up here. So text is if you want to write something. So I can say, like, let's just say 22 Houston is an off market. And that's more, and let's face it, this is to remind us to talk about it when we're with them, because like they don't know what off market, this little box might not mean anything to them. And then over here, you can make it smaller, or you can pick font. if you want to be bubbly, you know, it just depends on your style. And then if you click on it, I'm probably getting away from myself, but arrange, no, style. And you can make a box around it with a background color if you chose. And then you can make the letters white, or it just depends on how I'm very simple. I just write the words and leave it at that. Now that wasn't an off market. I was just showing an example for text, but here is the shape. Sean, Katie, how easy is it to create the arrow? Oh, that's what I'm doing. So shape, here's the arrow I use. You can also use this one. So for the sake of this one, here's the arrow. You see the little circle at the top? You can make it go any direction you want. So let's just say, and then for these, I go straight, but sometimes you do want to make it go up. It depends on, but that's how you move it. Then I make it a little bigger because I'm like, sometimes I can't tell it's an arrow at the tip of it. So, and then the black doesn't stand out for me. I prefer red. You can certainly use any color, blue, yellow. I'm in a habit of red, and that's it. And then to make it easy, since you have 3 pages here, I hover on it and then Command C, go to the next page, Command V, and there it is. Now, obviously I didn't put this page exactly in the right place, so then I have to move it, but you can just copy paste. Like all these circles are the exact same size for a reason, because I Command C, Command V, and then I just move it. You gotta put your cursor on the line, or you can't just move it. Otherwise you have to have your cursor right near the line, and then you can circle. Sometimes I get like, I'm more like in this vibe, and I'm a little longer. Sometimes I'm bigger. It just depends on how. It's a little hard because the writing's so little here on this page, right? But that's the circle as well. So the circle is under shape, and then the circle, and that's how it looks when you first get it. So you want to do the fill. So fill is right here to say no fill here at the very bottom. That it makes it see-through. And then from there, I'm like, I like to make it usually a little bigger, thicker. So I'll go to like 2 or 1. No, I think it's usually 1. Usually I go to 2. These are thin for me. Usually I'm a little bit more thicker for some reason, but you know, I'm different all the time. And then color, red. From there, and I make it smaller. Because this was so long, I ended up having to go wider with it, because if I copy and paste this and then bring it over, it just doesn't get the whole number. And then I'm weird. I like to visually see all the circles the same. So I ended up making all the circles a little big around everything else. Any other, that obviously answers that. So while we're here, because we're just talking about how to use Keynote a little bit, I'm gonna go up to like these charts. So these charts typically look like this when you drag them in, because you've screenshot this from IMAX. If you do subscribe to IMAX, if you don't, I highly suggest you email Terry and have a sit down with him. I like to put a black box around it. So I click on it, and then these are the options. So you can make it look like pop out. You can make it look like it's hovering over the page. I do a black box. That's just what I do. And then I try not to write in Lin, because sometimes, God forbid, I ever leave Lin. I never edit that. So, but if you can title this to be more specific to what your area is. And same with these, I put a black box around this, put a black, depends on visually how I want it to look. A big thing is these. So a lot of times I'll put black boxes around these, or I'll make them hover or, stand out. Something that I don't do very often, but you guys have the ability to do, is move the page, animate the page. So like, for instance, this is a very basic page. Up here, it says animate, add an effect. And I want to click on the photo before I do that. So add an effect, and then I'm going to do drift. So as you're going from page to page, I'm playing my CMA on the big screen like this, and I get to this page, because I added an animate, it's not there up front. I click the space bar and it moves in. So that was drift, so it goes away. I don't really like that, but so that's neat if you're really looking to impress. A big thing I do sometimes is I'll put one of my movies, I'll download it to my desktop. So I want to add a slide. And then you can move the slides as when you add them. And then like this is Drexel Terrace. I just drag it over and there it is. So I'm gonna go back a page, click play, and I'm hitting the space bar.
So it always pauses when there's something.
So that's so this had an animated, normally there wouldn't be an animate. Here's the next page. I would probably title the top, and I covered the balloons, that bothers me, but for the sake, I hit the space bar and it's auto playing during my CMA for my client. Super impressive, right? So what I don't want to do is print it looking like that. So normally I'll print it and then I'll go back and I'll add the video after for the presentation purpose only. Otherwise, they're getting a printed CMA page that looks like that. And that's obviously not very attractive. But the video is impressive. So that I showed you guys, I like to do the follow-up email. You would put that video in your follow-up email. This is the video that we looked at. And I showed you guys how for anybody that wasn't in the last cast, I have a follow-up email I send, and it's in my templates. Template, CMA follow-up email, and I already have a follow-up email with all my links, examples I want them to see, and then I usually most all the time delete that first paragraph, and I customize something that's personal. It loves this, and try to talk about something we talked about in person. So the video is awesome. I do add that. Admittedly, I don't add it as much as I should add it. Sometimes I'll just take it off my desktop and play it from my desktop because I don't need Wi-Fi for that. It's not in the CMA, but it is impressive when you're flipping through the pages. So the pages also, I believe some of them do, when I click the space. No, these don't. So this must be a new CMA, is you can make them swipe to the left. So that's just an effect, like it's a transition for the whole page. So let's just say cube.
Stop your CMA when you're going.
Hold on one second. I can't hear you. What?
So there's the space bar. If you didn't have a video, does the space bar
Go
start-
from
start
this.
and stop
So
your
the
page?
question is the space bar start and stop the pages? And yes. So make sure there's no questions. So back to what I was doing, and click play, space bar, space bar. So did you guys see what I did? I used the effect on this. I think, was it this page or this page? I think it was, this page. Yep, animate. And I'm going to change. I did the cube. I don't know what grid is. Let's see. So it just depends on your, like I always say, your vibe. You usually, like, every page would just flip the same way you want it to. I used to just have a side push, move to the left. I don't like that. I'm more of a simple girl, but I do like the action. So these are just, how cool is it? These are all just flip, spin, scale, flop, pop, push. So you could play around with this if you're into it and this interests you. This is like awesome, right? Like, but if you're not so interested, you can just make it so it just goes simple to the next page to the next, if that's just more what you want to do. What was wipe? So anyway, I think you get the point.
I have a quick question too. When you print out, can you remember the top bottom page thing you were just talking about? When you go to print, how do you?
So we have a question about printing.
And lining up your pick pages as you go to remember.
Okay, so I wish I didn't bring any examples with me today for some reason. I should have, so I apologize for that. But Zosha, if you want to make an appointment with Zosha, and then actually we can have her. I don't know if she's on the Zoom or not. There is so I personally have a hard time with the printer and like top and bottom and making sure that they're not, and that like it opens as a book and it reads as it's supposed to. I get super nervous. But file, move that out of the way, file, print. Mine says, that's not this. This is the Office when I use, and it says CMA. So it's all auto set up.
Gotcha.
But I believe it's top bind is what it's called. And maybe what I can do is Zosha can do like a little video tutorial,
Cool.
but even better, make a Zoom with her or a 30-minute appointment, and she will just make your printer say CMA, which is way easier, right? But she can walk you through it on Zoom or on the phone. It's probably easier for her to visually see what you're looking at and do a quick Zoom. I highly recommend just doing that because it's what a waste of paper,
And then
right?
when you're
It's just.
building- and then when you're building your CMA on the tabs on the left.
So the next question is building it with the tabs. So
like with-
front page is obviously this one.
Yeah.
And again, I locked this, so you guys can make this picture anything you want. It doesn't have to be of the city of Lynn. So top, front page, and then so this is the book open, these two. So this is top, bottom, because this is the front page.
Okay, so
And then you
front,
open
okay.
it. So it's always even at the top, even, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. That's usually isn't here. So we'll just say top, bottom. Then there's a plot plan either here or the next page, but top, bottom, top, bottom. I always like this page on the bottom. So if for some reason these pages are off, I will add a slide and put it in front because I want this page to be odd. So this is odd. It's the Terry chart, top, bottom. You want them opening and seeing the two charts, and or if you have more charts, but you don't want the one chart being on the bottom and one flip up to see on the next page. They should just open open it up and seeing them both like that. This is where it gets a little tricky. So you have the top, bottom. This one worked out, top, bottom. But sometimes if there's only two of these, you want this to be even and this to be odd. If there's only two. So that way you would insert this here. So top, bottom, top, bottom. But because we have a third, we don't need to insert. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
So top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. Works out perfect because the next pages is typically the property and then the property's photos. So you don't want to be flipping to see the property's photos. You want the top to be the property and the bottom to be that property's photos. So that would work out here if it was inserted correct, if I had them inserted. I wish I'd friggin' put them in, I'm so sorry. Top, bottom, even, odd, even, odd. And then again, all the way, depending on how many of these charts. They used to have a Zillow chart, a Zestimate chart, showing what the Zestimate is versus what it sold for. For the comparables, I don't know what happened to it, probably because Zillow's announcement, they're gone. I like that page because it just showed how Zillow's estimates are off. But I haven't been able to locate it. And then this you want to be odd on the bottom. You don't want this on the top and then having the next page is this. Doesn't matter. You want this if you have to insert a white page at the top. I do so. And then all the way to the bottom, this page is actually always even because the back page would be even. Now, if this ends up being odd, I don't insert a white page. It doesn't make a difference because I just flip it over when I'm binding it. It doesn't make a difference. So the back page is the back page, but I just make sure when I'm going to bind it, that this is what they see on the back. So if it's on someone's coffee table, this is what they're looking at.
So it
Couple of
prints out
questions.
it prints
Okay,
out
hold on. I have a
double-sided.
couple of questions in the room. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's one here. Ruth, where is the access to Google Drive to access? All right, I'm gonna send the Google Drive link right here in the notes. So let's first do that. So everybody has, it's an open link, so you don't necessarily need a Gmail. But if you do have a Gmail, you can utilize the charts that I utilize for the offerings. So Remax 360. And you should be in here. So here they are. And then CMA tools is where everything is where I'm popping everything today. So this is a listing appointment sheet that I went over last class that I use. It just says Remax, everyone can use it. I sometimes, depending on the person, I do have them sign off on all the information they've told me. But that day, most of the time I don't. Everybody fills this out. One person, the second person over here. So I think I'm going to change the layout because they just fill it out wrong. Everybody fills it out wrong. So I think I'm going to edit it to everyone's needs. So there's that. These are the two CMA examples from last week, Scranton and Maple. I'll put the ones from this weekend. And then here's a copy of the Office Draft keynote and the Office Draft PowerPoint. Here's the PowerPoint over here. The buyer and seller flyers that I just have in my folder are here. Everyone's, Social made those for everybody. And then these are just some CMA pages, whether I use them or not. I'm going to pop the Gloucester, what we made for social. I'll pop that in here. You can just take that picture and pop it into your CMA. It's the same thing. And then any other stats and numbers or pages, will always pop here. And then if you go back a page, so let me pop this into the chat. Where is the chat? Am I not seeing it? More chat. Everyone should have access to that. If for some reason you have trouble accessing it, contact Carolyn and she can make sure your email's in there. But I think that's an open link. If not, you should have a personal invite to it. And again, if you have trouble, just let me know. Erin, do you have a special binder to put this in? Yes. So Erin, every office has a machine. It's called a unibinder, and it's clear. The front and the bottom are clear, and then the binder, it has like glue inside of it, and you put, you print the paper, you stack them, you put them in the binder, you make it perfect, and you put it on the heating pad, and then it will give you a green light. Maybe if anyone's in the office and wants to see me bind one, and then you put it in, you scritch it. The one in Beverly operates a little different than the rest of the offices because the Beverly one is the oldest. But I believe all the other offices have the more recent unibinder. So yes, we have those in the office. And then Mabel, top, bottom, do you mean the same page or front and back? So the front page is even, number one. And then when you open it, it's page 2, page 3. Top is even, bottom is odd. So when I'm going top, bottom is like even, odd, even, odd, even, odd. Top is even. Katie, do you show us how you add on a non-MLS? Yes, I'll go back to the non-MLS property. So we're going to go back to, this is why I can't have the chat bar. I get confused. Let's go back to the Cloud CMA. So we're in the Cloud CMA. Let's just go back to the beginning. Also, at the end of the class, let's do the flyer here. I actually just played with that this morning. It was actually kind of neat. So I'm going to click CMA. And again, I'll just go to creating a new CMA just to make it, and then 82 Kessler. Lynn, it auto-generated, 0.5, add a photo. I'm gonna go down to the screenshots. And then you can crop it. It's already cropped nicely. And I remembered I need to add a garage. I usually leave the texts, take them out. And then here we are. So here are all the listings I want to add that are in the MLS. So those are the first ones I'll add. I could probably take out that split wrench. I wish I knew which one it was. Fetch listings. And then I believe it's this page is where you add organized listings. So here they are. So if for some reason you're like, you know what, forget it. I don't like that. You can uncheck it. It's no longer a comp. That this is actually the one I believe I didn't want. I'll leave it checked. Every time you go back in to download, you need to uncheck it. It doesn't auto uncheck, but if you do decide to take one out, you can. You just uncheck the box. You just have to, again, every time you go back in, you have to remember which one you unchecked. Add a listing. That's where you put the non-MLS listing. So add a listing. Let's just say 80 Kessler. Didn't auto pull anything for whatever reason. So it's a 3-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,650 square feet. Now I think it's gonna pull that. So I wanna add a comma. It is sold, but it can be expired, withdrawn, pending, whatever status. It's sold for 500. Now we'll find out when we go to the next page if these price tags double up or if the comma does. So we'll find out together. Original price, they listed it at 470. We'll just say. So I don't know the difference. Price, original price, sold price. We'll find out together. Because as I told you guys, I typically don't do it this way. And then you add a list date and a sold date.
And a 0 on the sold.
Where?
Sold price, sold 0.
So, oh, thank you. I don't know, for the sake of knowing what description does. Oh, it must be just the description for when you print the listing and then the photos. So it must just be that. I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3 just to see, so we can see where it would go. Choose a file. Oh, this was an example. Let's use this photo just because it's a nice change in photo versus something else. So add listing. There it is at the bottom. And we're going to customize the report. Let's go to layout side by side so we can see what it looks like. And I'm going to click publish. I'm super curious how this looks. I don't do it this way. So this is actually great learning for myself as well. View PDF. Do you take the photo of the subject property or are you pulling from it? I screenshot the subject properties photo and it's on my desktop, that's where I'm locating the photo when I pull it in for the subject property or for an off-market property. It's already preloaded on my desktop. I just grabbed that photo that was already on my desktop from an example in social class.
Or Google Earth.
Yep, you can just Google it. Usually Patriot Properties is a great place to grab a photo from if your town is on Patriot Properties. So let's just see here, the bottom. This is the property we just added in. So list price was 550, sold was 500, 500. Okay, list price sold. So I added 470.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to that. I'm gonna go back. Let's go back to customize and take a look at that property again, just because I thought I was filling it in correctly.
How would you know the numbers anyway from like Zillow, Fizbo or something?
Maybe like I'm selling a property off market right now, maybe listings, going down to the bottom. This is the one we wrote the info for, so I'm gonna click edit. Okay, so price, I'm not really sure. It went away. No, price, it didn't go away. Original price, 470, sold price. So I guess maybe the original price doesn't matter the way that for the sake of what we're printing maybe. So I'm gonna update, customize report. And then I'm gonna download this and see if it pulls over differently. I already know my same layout's selected. I don't have to look. Whatever layout you selected last is the layout
Katie,
that's in here. Yep.
Katie, on the off market, the non-MLS, why do you have to put anything in? It should pull up whatever the sale price was. If it wasn't on market.
If it's in MLS, if it was in MLS, if it wasn't in MLS, it doesn't pull over.
Well,
So
the
this is for
reason I'm asking you these questions is I did the stats for last year in Marblehead and Swampscott. And in both towns, there were at least 30 or 40 houses that sold that were not in MLS. So this is
Oh,
going to
wow.
become more of a common problem for us. And I just want to automatically pull up the data and put it in the market analysis.
Right. Unless you know where the house is and then can find that data from Salem Deeds or, I mean, the newspaper prints. I mean, look at the print newspaper every
No, I
week.
just, would you
but-
take it right from the town records? I just went into
Yeah.
Tool. I printed out every single family that sold in Marblehead.
Perfect.
Then I went into
Yep.
to MLS, and there's like 40 or 50 houses in both communities
If-
that were sold.
If they have an MLS ID, then you just grab that and then
No,
that
they
would
don't.
work.
It would just,
Yeah, they don't because they're off market. So you have to input it this way in order to have it as a side-by-side comparison.
but you get it. Wouldn't you be getting it from the field card, from the actual field card? Wouldn't you give the
This
address?
information pulls from MLS.
Oh,
These comparables pull directly from the MLS. What we're
Oh, I
doing
know.
here is we're adding the MLS property number and that it's pulling from the MLS. So
Yeah,
you know
no,
how
I
some
mean-
agents say that the house, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just mean the ones that were never in MLS. We have some terrorist
Right.
agents in our
So
community.
you're not gonna, so when you're comping the property through this, you're not gonna see them. So you have to manually put it in, just like I just put in 80
Well, I did,
Kessler.
yeah, but I thought when you put the address in, it would go to Patriot Properties and pull up the data.
I thought so too, like it started auto-populating, but then it didn't. So maybe it's a glitch right now for me, but something tells me we're gonna have to manually input everything.
It would be good to ask them at iCloud, because we have some terrorist agents, I have to say, that make a big point of selling listings without going into MLS.
I
And
agree.
it's-
I agree.
and the stats that I gave for Marblehead and Swampscott reflect they're being very successful. So
Yes, and
so-
MLS is pretty responsive and this is a new tool. I don't know if it's like a year or two old or 3 years old. It's very new and they keep on updating it. So these questions we're asking them does encourage them to update their system. So I can certainly find out if, does it auto-populate? Is there a way we can get the listings to pull in? I think the answer right now is just no, but maybe I'm wrong. So it's good to
I
ask the
think-
question to know for sure.
I don't know that MLS developed this iCloud CMA. I think that it's available nationwide. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, this is Toolkit from what I'm noticing. I used to use it when I was with a mom and pop and because I didn't have anything else. So Toolkit CMA is what it's called. I believe that is what this is. But it pulls from our MLS pin, the information. So if it doesn't have an MLS ID number, it doesn't pull in.
And also, as you mentioned, if you have a listing that's on the edge of the town border, it can bring in the next town listing, right? If you're not careful.
Correct. Correct. So you either want to make sure you have the town listing as well when you're like, when I did my search here.
Yeah.
I did Kessler 0.2 miles, but this is on the Saugus border. So I made sure I put Lynn only. If I
Oh.
removed it, and
Oh,
so yeah, I'm not that close, but like, let's just say, for example, 3 mile radius. And there's 634 in a 3 mile radius, but if I just do Lynn, I don't even know if that changed, but Lynn's so big.
uh-huh.
But yeah, yes, if you put just a city, it will be just a city. If you want to go over the border, just don't write the city name and you're just searching literally the mile radius from the zip code.
Okay.
Yeah, and I only did 6 months from this search here. I typically do 12. I go back 12 months. But I was,
I had a question.
Yep.
Okay, about the non-MLS, great, you put it in the CMA, right, possibly, right? How do you speak to it? Is a positive thing or not that it has to be a positive or negative, there's a non-MLS, but use it some as a talking point of how listing your property, we may have.
I'm going to
expectations
repeat the
of getting
question.
more.
So are you talking about the non-MLS, what I'm
Yeah.
doing now?
Yeah, when you're putting a non-MLS in your comparisons
Yep.
and you speak of it, it's not your non-MLS.
So he's
How do you
asking
speak
how
to
I
it?
speak to it.
Like-
So the quick answer to that is I don't do it this way. I don't put in non-MLS here. I like to screenshot,
Like, could it be still
this.
that you're gonna get them more?
I
or that-
screenshot this Patriot Properties, as silly as assuming that it had the time to hit Patriot Properties.
Yep.
There was one on Judge Road that constantly came up. So what I do is I put that page like here, like after these, and then I stop and I go, this one never made it to I make a point to make the page, like, I don't care that it's not side by side, but I've already gone through this with them. I showed them a square foot in the land. And then the fact that the Patriot Property sheet's there, they've already seen their own Patriot Property. They're understanding it by that point. That's how I do it, but it's a little lazy of me. I think the way that you could speak on it and I would highlight it, maybe even box it, like, the whole thing is when you're sitting with them that you don't forget that it's a non-MLS property, right? So I would even format, box. Nope, I don't want to box the whole thing. So I would probably want to go to shape. This is just an idea, but you could, I have to, and then go over to fill, no fill, red. Then there it is highlighted in red. Well, what? And then the seller like, whoa, I have this highlighted in red because this one never actually made it to the MLS. So when we were speaking on the charts earlier, these charts only pull from listings that have been posted and sold on the MLS. So those charts don't include the non-MLS. So if this wasn't sold on MLS, I would want it to stand out special because this is information, let's face it, what other agent is showing them a non-MLS
Yeah.
listing? No one
Yeah, yeah.
No one knows the market that well.
Absolutely.
Nobody. So unless you're the one that sold it or you're Claire Domowski, who has the whole printed list. So, yeah, I would probably do something like that, but so the question was, how would you present it? But, for me, it's just putting things in front of me to remind me what to say, because I'm sitting there, my daughter might have just fell down the stairs with the babysitter. I'm like, my mind's everywhere else. Like, so it's just to, remind me what I'm doing then and there.
Kate.
And this is,
Oh, sorry. I don't know
Go
if you
ahead.
have an answer to this or maybe another realtor. So when it comes to non-MLS properties, how often do appraisers actually use those, being that there's no real proof of condition because there's no photos? So it's like you're trying to use, this comp price, but you don't know if the kitchen's been updated, the bath, you don't know
Yeah,
what's going
I
on.
have my answer to
And
that.
Claire, I want to apologize. I never do non-MLS, but he's such a jerk. So that's the only one I ever did the non-MLS for. But that said, I supplied photos, so at least people would have it for the future. So I
Yep.
guess the question is, how often should we be showing non-MLS as part of our comp? Well, we
I
see
want
the
to other answer, but I want to answer that.
Okay.
So from my perspective, and I might not be accurate, but the appraisers don't know about them. So there was one house on Judge Road. It was 123 Judge. It sold for 710, which was like a number that we were like, whoa, like, and no appraiser knew of it. They were trying to make the houses work. And that comp always helped me, but they never knew. They use the MLS is what I am fathoming. They're using the
Yeah.
MLS. If it's not in the MLS, they're not going out of their way to research further. So they rely on us to know the market, know what sold off market. And I would have to provide, I sold like 6 houses up there that needed that comp. And none of the appraisers, I would like, you know, obviously I'd want to like talk to them and find, like, tell them about that comparable and give them the sheet. There were no pictures. The house never went public ever. It was a new build in like 05 and then just never sold. It sold to the family and then it sold to a person across the street sister. I just happened to know about it and there was no pictures.
Just to give you an idea, though, I think we have to have this information. I think a really good appraiser would be looking for the non-MLS information because
I agree.
it is the extraordinary effort on the part of the terrorist broker, I call them, who's trying to make a sale, you know, independent of the
Yep.
rest of the world. And they're doing a
To
coup.
not go live right now is crazy. You
Yeah.
gotta go
So
live. for the best
I would
value.
say that that seller, the spin I would put on it would be that seller chose, with the help of that realtor, to just take a stab at selling it. Wasn't so concerned with market value per se, like the
Yep.
convenience and the simplicity.
Yep.
But it is not to be
Exactly.
overlooked because many of them are higher priced than you would have ever expected. But I'm just looking last year in 2020, single family, Swampscott, 33 homes sold non-MLS. In Marblehead, 54. That's shocking. And that's why all those need to be in our CMAs because they're a
And this
real
isn't
part
just a
of the market.
state's transferring. This is actually sales to
Sales.
an
Oh,
off-market.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I
mean,
have an
some of them
off-market
might
in
be
Lynn.
estates. Some of them might be estates, but they're sales.
Yep.
Sales.
Right. No, that's true. I have a ranch selling for $650 in Lynn. That's off market and it just happened and it wasn't my intention, but we ended up sell. So $650 for a ranch in Lynn is a new number, but it's off market. So I'm gonna have to tell everybody about it because no one's gonna know about it.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed $650. They're gonna guarantee the number.
Do you want me to grab
Yep.
it
Oh,
from there?
please. Yep. I answered all the questions.
Okay.
Anything anybody else wants to talk about or questions about the overall CMA? Because I knew that we were going to run under time. Does anyone think there should be a follow-up class on anything? I don't know. This is just, and again, this is my CMA, not necessarily like you guys might not want yours to look the way mine looks.
Well, I think you're spectacular, but I would love for us in our own offices to have like a workshop class where we maybe
Yep.
don't do everything that you've done, but we all
Yep.
learn to create a better CMA
You
than
can
we're
all
typically doing.
And do your own draft. That's your own vibe.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. We could maybe rotate the Fridays to each office. One, like, start in Marblehead, go to Gloucester, go to, you know what I mean? And
Maybe we could clump a couple.
yeah, because I'm always here in Beverly, so obviously the Beverly people come in during this class. Too, so let's, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we can talk about a schedule.
Yes, we have our.
Katie?
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yep,
Katie, you're going to send the link for the Google Drive. I wrote it down.
it's
I
in the
thought, but
comments in the chat.
I'll include
Oh, it is. Okay, I didn't.
Carolyn's
realize.
gonna include it in the follow-up email, she said.
Oh, beautiful.
And I also put it in the chat bar.
Terrific.
There's a question in the room. Hold on real quick. So it was,
No, just where you were dragging from to.
Okay.
Was the PDF to PDF?
yep, so Paul just wants to ask how I was dragging to and from. So this is the PDF that we downloaded from
Wow.
the cloud. I always call it iCloud. This is the subject CMA. And then I would just take the page I want and drag it over to the bar.
Does that work in PowerPoint?
I
that's
don't
why.
know about PowerPoint. I'm the worst. I'm sorry. So I guess if you have PowerPoint, you can't do it that way.
Save it and upload,
Screenshot.
yeah, exactly, screenshot it.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the way I
Yeah.
used to do it.
I gotta get a Mac.
Yes, you do.
That's why I got the first over. It's so much easier to grab
On the
each time.
screen.
Yeah.
And then,
Or highlight screen.
so this, I think that it's like maybe quarterly or twice a year, because I tend to refresh my CMA with new pages. And anytime I ever have a new page without even talking, I will put it in the CMA cloud. So if you guys check that folder that says, let's go back to it. So when you're in the cloud, you all know, I have my favorite bar, share drives. So you probably have the one shared drive, and then CMA tools, new CMA pages. If I ever create a page, you know, whatever, I'll put them here. But if I ever, again, create 12 questions to ask your realtor or those pages, I can put them in here as well. If I put them in here as a Word document, I think you guys can edit it to your liking as well. So maybe we can edit it both, put it in both ways so it's editable.
You have to turn the volume down. We just had a question. Sean was just saying he just tried to get into the Google link and it's locked. If you do not have a Homes of MA email, like a Gmail account, or you haven't been in it already, you just need to request access, and that goes to myself and Zosha, and then we just approve you to have access to it. So if you can't get in, it will give you an option. And Sean, I just saw your request for access, so I'm going to approve that right now.
Great. So yeah, we'll add I'll just automate. So if like 3 months goes by and we're all busy, but you're looking for something, look here first, because we'll always just add stuff here. This is that template to the offers. We did pop it here because we were talking about it in class. So everyone has access to this template of buyers, agent, company, lender. I put the name and telephone number because if I have 15 offers, I don't want to look through all my emails for people's telephone numbers if they're not saved in my phone, and I just call from this sheet. I'm just going to add insert to the right offer deadline, because I ask for 48 hours, but how many times do they give you 5 hours to respond? So I just like to, know that everybody gave me the deadline I asked for, offer amount, deposit. Under deposit, I write full deposit, first and second. So you can always separate it. All you got to do when you, so when you're in Google Drive and you click on it without clicking open, download is right here. So I click download and it's going to show up right here or wherever your downloads are. And then I'm going to go into my drive and I'm going to put it up in my drive. Then I'm not editing the main draft. I'm only editing the one that I've added. So template TU, here it is. So now it's mine, and what I'm editing to it is now mine. So if you download it, put it up into your drive, now there it is. Now, every time you have a property, so for instance, I hope I'm not being too confusing right now. Sometimes I jump around. My drive, I have a thing called offers, and here's the template here. I have it hosted here, and then I end up downloading it and uploading, for instance, East Park, and then it has its own, this was the offers. So there was only 3. And all my offers again. So all the properties I have going on, this is where I look at all this is all like my old properties that have it's where I house all the open house sheets. This is where I house all the offers, and all the offers are each here, and you can open the link to your sellers and make it a public link for your sellers to look at. They won't see all your properties. They'll just see the one. So for instance, offers, Glenwood, just hover over Glenwood and add the plus person symbol. And this is where your invite. So we got 2 offers. I sent them both to them. Congratulations, Mabel. And this is where you would add their email right here and then add and then done. Or you can copy the link. So anyone on the internet with this link can view. So you just gotta be careful. Do you want anybody because are they gonna share it with anybody? So, but I don't care. They can share it with anyone they want. Copy the link and then I can pop open a text. And then I can literally text them the link. And that goes to the Google Drive, and then they have access through the link. So I can email it, I can text it, obviously, like I'm a texter, but depending on the person. So that's how I kind of use for my offers with the links and the templates and stuff. And then I used to use templates for the people at showings. I would just put it right in my phone or add it, but we've gotten away from this because of the housing discrimination words. I tend to write like man with baby. And that's discriminating. So as silly as that is, so I've stopped using it because I can't help myself from writing things like that. But I do use the template offers, and that's how I share it with my sellers.
Do you have to hand enter each offer into the template?
So yeah, I muted it for a second. What was the question? Will you repeat yourself, Claire, because I hit mute by accident?
When you're loading up the offer template, do you hand load each offer?
Yeah, so, well, yep. So here's, let's just see Tucker. I had 3 offers on Tucker. So, in my email, I downloaded them to my desktop, or I downloaded them to my downloads here. And then I just dragged it up and it uploads. And then in a second, there it is. And then I would go in and go, all right, well, I want to rename it so I don't get confused. So I just click on it once, click rename. And then I'm like, number 4 offer. And then from here, obviously this is blank. I never actually, they came in, I never had to fill this out. I don't think it's filled out, but let's just say that it is filled out. And I'm at, so I would open this, and then for the sake of making it easy, I pop it down out of the top. I put this on the left and I put this on the right. So then I can easily fill in. Well, and then it goes, if you click out, it brings you right to the next offer. And then brings you right to that. So I'm like, it's like as if I have 2 screens, but I'm really just using my one screen. So it helps me
Wow.
like input the information.
And then you
So
said
that's how I,
that's amazing. And then you send the template to your client. You're not sitting with them.
no, I am more than happy to sit with them in the Lynn office, and I put this up on the big screen in the conference room. I'll
Okay.
screen share my laptop to the screen and we'll look at the spreadsheet together. And I'll also print each offer and write in a big black Sharpie, number 1, number 2. I just print the offer and the pre-approval. And if there's a love letter, I do print it. I know that that's controversial, but I do print it and put it on it. And I'll actually save the email. If the agent writes an email with important information, I print that, I add that as well. And then I line them up on the table. There's usually 2 people. So they have 2 big piles of offers and we're looking at the big screen. And as we're looking at the big screen, which is kind of cool, I love talking about this, is let me just find a template. So here's the Google Drive, my Drive offers, like Linwood. Like, so we're up on the big screen looking at this. As we're looking at the offers, I'll click on it and go, okay, we don't like this one. And then I'll go right over it and I'll gray it out. All right, and we don't like this one. We've already talked about it. So the 2 in the running, let's just highlight them so that we can easily see them. I'll also like the net offer, or I'll be like, you know what? Let's just hover over inspection, because I think that this house is real dumpy. This house isn't dumpy, by the way, but like it's super, that wave inspection is huge, I'll think. So I want their eyes to go. So I'll like, highlight as we're in the room together. I'll print a clean copy of it. I just hover over the whole thing. And then I go back to fill color to white. I print it like this. And sometimes I'll print a second one that's highlighted. Because especially if I have one that, oh my gosh, but I think the worst one I ever had was Ann Lane. It was like, what? Oh, this wasn't that bad. This was only 7 offers. But I had one that was like 20 offers. Quebec, okay, that one was a good one. Was it? Quebec, was it 9? Quebec. So when I spoke to him, not in person, he had cancer. He was like not able to be around people. We just went over on the phone and he was looking at his computer, and in time I'm graying it out and he's looking at his, because we're sharing the same screen essentially without doing Zoom on Google Drive. I grayed him out and I said, all right, I already pre-grayed out all the ones and I'll tell you why. We went through them. The inspection was important. And then we picked, I forget what, oh, it wasn't Carrie because she bought another house of ours. This one, we ended up taking this offer here. Yeah. And it worked out. They waived. But look at this. How the heck do you go through? It's like, you can't just put offers and send them an email. Like how it's a quick way to go through a lot of offers real quick. And he actually, this was easy. The guy was like, I trust you, Katie, tell me which one to take. And it was kind of as easy, but I didn't feel comfortable not going through all the offers with them. So
Hey,
it's just
Katie.
crazy when.
Hey, Katie.
Yep.
I'm like blind, so I need glasses. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. Is there something, stop it. Is there something in here for escalation clauses, which, like you get a ton of them?
Right here is how I add them. I just, in the offer amount, I add stars.
Okay.
And then the net offer at the end, I calculate myself where their escalation ended up. And then I write it in the notes.
Okay.
Because the net number, and I think Sosha, and I could be incorrect on this, she did this sheet so that it maths out the net offer.
Okay.
Like if they have closing costs, it auto, so you don't have, you know what I mean? Like just in case you're not paying attention, it auto populates the correct number.
Okay.
But
So
I
when
try to write in notes on the side, everything that I can.
Stop barking. Sorry. Because when I do mine, because I have a similar one, I actually do highest price to lowest price. But I was trying to
I
figure
do in order they come in.
because the escalation clause, everyone escalated off like the one person that didn't have an escalation clause. So it was like, we were trying to figure out like the easiest way to do that to not confuse, because there were 15 offers. So I didn't know if there was like the easiest way to lay that out so that it wasn't, because a lot of sellers, you're explaining to them right there what the heck an escalation clause even is.
Yep. And that's what you
So-
end up doing a lot of times is explaining it right then and there. I try not to make it a big deal though, because I don't want people's offers to be or not be accepted over it. If the buyer's willing to pay the top amount in my head, then I usually, but sellers do know, all right, well, they offered the amount, but these people didn't offer it, but they were willing to pay for it. Like they get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that, right? Just ask the direct question, like.
I like escalation clauses personally, so I typically don't push back, but you can push back that you won't even accept them. I mean, I think you have to ask your seller first. I don't
You're
think
allowed
you
to
can
say
speak, you can't speak for your seller.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they don't want an escalate, I usually, from my experience,
Yeah.
the older demographic agents sometimes right up front will say no escalation clauses. Usually the younger ones, I haven't heard that from, but I don't work with buyers as often anymore,
But
so.
technically, they
forever.
need to be, the seller needs to tell them whether they're accepting them, not the agent.
Yeah, the seller, technically, I don't think you can speak for a seller
Yeah.
and say that they're not willing if they are. So, I usually just like, they'll say you like escalations. I'm like, I'm fine with them. I usually like to figure, like when I'm sitting with the seller now, I ask for 48 hours and we typically sit within 24. So if they're hung up on that, we push back for highest and best, no escalation, but I'm typically not pushing back for highest and best in this market. We're picking our offer or countering it with something minor. I know somebody else was starting to talk. I didn't know who it was. There was another question. No.
I have a sort of an unrelated question, but we're all suffering with it. And that is if we put something on the market and we say the owner wants to look at offers on Monday, if on Saturday an offer comes in with the Saturday deadline, whenever you get the offer, you have to send it to the seller right away, right?
I have Claire, so yes, especially in this market, I have that conversation before open house because I have like 60 groups per house. I'm sure you guys have the same, like 60 groups per house. Like at 77 Glenwood, we had people that want to get in early. And what happens is they get in early and they put an offer with a deadline before open house, but they have all these reasonings of why they can't make it to the open house. And then they, excuse my French, they screw you with a full price offer. And it seems great. And the seller doesn't know what to do. So I tell the seller this and I say, you know, if with your permission, I can tell them that you asked me not to send any offers until after the deadline and you are kindly requesting for the full 48 hours. And I can push back. I push back to most every offer unless I know they're not going to get accepted anyway. And I say, seller is requesting a full 48 hours for a response. Does your offer stand through the full deadline? And 9 times out of 10, it's yes, yes, yes. And if they're like, no, well, I say Monday at 5, 48 hours, and they say Monday at 6 is their deadline. It's like, do they not understand? Sometimes I wonder, is it a language barrier? Because I get a lot of foreign agents. Is it a language barrier? Are they being sneaky? I'm not sitting with them till Tuesday. So, and the seller has already asked me to not send them offers prior to the deadline. And I still have to organize them in my Google Drive. They know that. I tell them they're going to get the link Tuesday morning and that I'm going to call the lenders and verify every pre-approval is up to date and current and make my phone calls. And so that's my go around is I right up front don't want to, I know that's more work on us as agents because it'd be great to get an early offer and then we don't have to do open houses. And it's like the lazy way out in a way, but I don't like that. I like to
I
go
don't
through
either,
the whole
Katie,
weekend.
but We just had the
Yeah.
CU class with Anita Hill, and she told us,
I was on it.
yeah, the state law says forthwith, the offer has to be delivered to the seller.
Yep,
And now,
unless the seller says otherwise.
oh, I didn't know that.
The seller
So-
can, you, and we can ask Anita to confirm, but I was told in a class at the NSAR that, because I took the buyer and the seller classes, and they said that if the seller specifically says they do not want to look at an offer, do not send them to me, then you have permission to push back to everybody and not send them. We should confirm that with Anita. We'll confirm that with Anita, but that's how I've been doing it, because that's what I was learned in my class. So if, I would love to know if I'm wrong.
But remember in that
um,
class, Pam Cody spoke up and she said she was representing the buyer. The buyer wanted to buy the house. The buyer made an offer 75,000 over asking. It was presented to the seller and the seller decided, yeah, I'm going to take it. I think when you have a deadline and someone is trying to get an answer before that, it sort of behooves that buyer agent to give you something very exciting. And in that
Yep.
case, the seller could decide to go with it.
Right. Well,
I hate-
sometimes writing seller reserves the right
Yes.
is exciting
Yes.
because you're create, especially if the house is vacant, let's face it, because then you can just give out the lockbox, or you can, it's easier than having the sellers evacuate, but like that always I love that when it's
I would-
Well,
vacant,
what?
seller
No,
reserves the
that-
right.
Oh, no, that's the worst, because first of all, what does that even mean? It says deadline is Monday at 5 PM, but seller reserves to take an offer at any time. Then what? Are we supposed to get in today? Like what?
Right.
Should we get in 5
Yes.
minutes? No, it's
Yes, right
or.
away,
Either
cash
there's a
only.
deadline or there's
Raise
not a
everything.
No, it's like, no, I hate that. And I know as someone that lists a lot, that sounds great, but I'm 50-50. And as a buyer's agent, I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate
I
It's
hate it
upsetting.
too. But I think.
Yeah,
it's
I don't do it that way. I
compassion.
typically like to go to market, not review, only review after. And I tell them, and I get early offers and I'll write back, seller requested not to see offers until after deadline. We would like to confirm you're giving the full 48 hours.
I actually
They don't
tell
wanna
them
be pressured.
when to make their deadline. Please make your offer deadline for 5 PM on Monday, so they can write an offer on Friday.
Yeah.
Just make your offer deadline for Monday at 5. I don't know.
I agree. I agree with everybody. There should be a rule like with this, right? This is like, that's where it's like the game,
That need to be
real
the
estate game.
language, yep, it should be built around, when offers are due, not when they're reviewed.
But the reality is sellers can pick an offer. Right? That is what, even no matter what you write, the seller has the right, no matter, even if you write anything, they
That's
can
right.
pick an offer. So
That's what Anita
tough about all
tried to bring home to us at that meet. It was that even though we may write all this stuff, they do have the right to make a decision sooner than that. And as someone, like Erin that does both sides with the buyers, it's really hard. I just tell them we have to do our best as soon as we can. And if they don't open it till Monday, if that's what it is, then great. But, but because I do both sides a lot and have been doing this for 27 years, I tell my buyers to give them until their Monday or Tuesday date. So I don't limit it. But as a seller's agent, I'm constantly being put in a position where an agent is telling me that, they actually walk in with an offer. And I said, you haven't even seen the house. You don't even know that you want this house, but you're handing me an offer. So I am not accepting your offer until you've seen the house and you've had 5 minutes to think about it. And then we'll go from there, because I'm not having you then be the one that gets accepted and then has buyer's remorse. So, I have a long conversation with my, sellers about how, what their legal rights are and how some of these offers will come in, but it is their right to accept or not. But at the same time, you need to give me permission to be a little more forceful. And that sort of, if they trust me, and I think I'm lucky that 99% of the time they do 100%, they're very open to what I think is best for them as sellers, as I also develop that relationship with what is best for buyers. But Anita was very clear that, as buyers agents, we are going to get, and she didn't use the word screwed, that's my word, we're going to get screwed a lot because agents are doing all kinds of things. I had a listing that was going to come on, And as Claire said, we've got a group that try to sell it under us. And they came in and they told this woman that, you know, that she doesn't have to worry anymore. And even though I felt she would get more money for the house, she accepted their offer before it ever came on the table. I was going to be doing the pictures that afternoon, and they said, Barb, don't spend the money. We're going to accept this offer. And I was like, well, how did they? But the reality is that everybody talks, and they had younger kids. So they were probably at school, and they said, all right, we're going to do this move. And it got back and they got called, and that was it. So it's really a hard market. It's to kind of, I think, keep everything fair. I guess that might not be a smart word, but it's really, really hard. And I mean, it's a great market for sellers because they're not losing no matter what, but the buyers, you know, it's interesting. And I've had several that didn't appraise, even though they had more than enough comps to make it even a higher number. And the appraisers have been from other areas and or not even caring about what it is. And lying is the wrong word, but like on their CMA says low ceilings, no renovations, and the house had brand new kitchen, brand new this, and you're like, are you kidding me? And so it's been a really interesting couple of months.
A buyer agent on my team has a buyer that's in contract, and looking specifically in Boxford, and went to a house on a Thursday night. There was a group showing to take off the pressure of the weekend showings. And they walked around with the house and they noticed a baseball hat that had the thin blue line on it, that had the police logo. Because typically police officers very well know to hide all their stuff so some people don't like police officers. They looked at each other and said, you need to go write a letter, because and we all know the letter stuff, right? But it's okay for the buyers to submit. It's the seller's agents that have to worry about it. Wrote a letter, big picture of him in his uniform with his wife and 2 children, big love letter. And the agent had said to the other agent, so police officer, and she was like, how'd you know? And he was like, there was a hat. And then they found out moving out of state. Oh, so he's a Fed, because officers don't take. So they knew so much about the guy over one hat in a conversation. They wrote a love letter, submitted an offer early. He was so type A and upset with everybody walking through his house that Thursday night. He got like 8 offers from the Thursday night group showing, never made it to the weekend, and my agent got the offer accepted. It's crazy. But those little things, and that's not a good story, I'm sure, to other people who maybe had offers on that house, but like my buyer's agents are looking for any clue in the house of anything they can do. And that won it.
So I have a question for actually Claire and maybe Barbara. How do we, from Marblehead and Swampscott, all these off-market listings, how do we know who's selling them? Like, how do you know what realtor teams are selling them? Like, if they're not making it into MLS, is it just
in my case, I only know the ones that because it happened, I lost the opportunity to list it.
Because it's not going in their stats. So they're not looking like they're a really great team if they're not making any closings.
I guess they're doing through social media. That's how they're doing it. And, unfortunately, I'm on the older side of the world, but, those buyers that are not. And so they're watching the social media or they're, whatever. That's how they're getting it across that they're selling, let's say, more by showing, you can go to a listing and say, this is what I want to do. And here I'll show you all these homes I sold in the last 6 months or year that I never brought to market because they advertise them on a social media after the fact or whatever.
Okay.
So that's how they get the credit. No, I mean, I don't know necessarily. I mean, I get to watch some of their videos, so I just take notes. So that's how I know who it is.
You mean like really kind of ridiculous video type situation where you're like, like, why would someone want someone in their house like doing yoga kind of thing? Yeah. Okay. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's that team. But you know what?
Jumping in their pool with floaties on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Underwater.
You know what, though? I find it highly unprofessional, but it's their shtick. And they are having fun with it in this market. But I
And they're
find
having a
myself,
lot of success with it.
yeah, but I don't
Very
approve of
successful.
these non-MLS markets. I just think MLS keeps us ethical, keeps us market-based, good data and so on. But last year, I myself had 3 things sell non-MLS, and I'm like, it's mortifying, but it's going to happen every once in a while. You can't avoid it.
Yep. Yep. Crazy. Anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Oh,
We're pretty
actually,
much done.
Katie, I had typed one question earlier. When you showed us the folder at the beginning of the first meeting, you
Yep.
had the report in it, but what else did you have in it? I couldn't
Oh,
remember.
good question. And I think I have it in the drive.
What was the question?
What, the folder that she presented, what else was in it besides the CMA?
Oh,
So it might be under my own personal team drive and inserts, CMA inserts. I can move it over if anyone. No, this is just CMAs. CMA pages. Bear with me, I don't know exactly where it is. No, it's called inserts. Maybe it is under the. Marketing, huh? Let me see if I did an old class. Maybe I have it under the keynote of the old class. Presentation Pro, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if this might be, I don't know what this is, so this might not be helpful. Oh, there's my letter. There's a letter from the police officer. I had to help put it together for the agent. With his family injured. I thought I had it up here. It's not there. So what I do have that is in our drive. So this is our drive, CMA tools. I do put the seller flyer in. So I have this. I have this. I also have, we all have the I love Lynn, I love Peabody. I have the I heart Lynn, a big sheet that says it. I have something that says, like Yo Espanol, and it's like my Spanish agents. And like, so you have to remember, I'm in a different market than everyone else. Like there's a heavy Spanish speaking. So I have a flyer right in there, and that's my sell point that, oh, if your buyer's Spanish, don't worry. I will have a Spanish speaking agent present at the home inspection. Like we will listen in on your home inspection. So I have that. I have an article that was written in the Lynn Journal about Al and I. It was from years ago. I still pop that in. I have the net proceeds sheet, just so I can fill that out in time. And I also have this sheet, listing appointment sheet. I put this on a clipboard separate, but I put it in the folder and then I take it out and I fill this out. And then
Did you talk about that, how you walk off the beginning and write stuff down so you can build your listing later?
I did, for a second. So Carolyn just mentioned, like, when I show up at the CMA, I have my folder, but I keep the folder in my purse. Because if they get their hands on it, they flip right to the page that says what value is. And then it's just so frustrating when they do that. I leave it in my bag. I take this out and then they give me a tour. Like so many times do they want to just go right to the dining room table and sit. So I just make sure we don't sit right away and we first tour the house. And I take notes. I find out how old the roof is. And, usually I might already know from Patriot Properties what was renovated. But how old the windows, is a washer and dryer staying, or is it going? Is it negotiable? Is the gas is the stove electric or gas? Like I ask everything, because how many times do we do a CMA and leave and forget everything? And then you go to build it and you don't know anything about the house. So I put everything and I take notes on, this is editable. If anyone has any ideas, how many zones, heat, how many zones, AC, the ampage, this is like the basic questions, and then everything that they say. Oh, we just added this back room in 2005. The pool has a new liner. I write everything they say down, even if I don't think it's useful, because when I go to write the remarks, it's super helpful to read this. And then, as you all know, I do cleaners, so I'll take note, vacuum the ceiling in the basement, because how many times there's way too many spider webs, or sometimes I'll give them homework to clean their heating system, as silly as that is, but a new heating system, 3 years old, covered in dust. It doesn't look 3 years new. So sometimes, I'll give them homework, or I'll take notes here on what I'm gonna give them for homework if they hire me. Because I also don't want to tell them too many tips unless I'm hired, right? But I also want to be valuable. So Yeah, so that's, and then I sit and I put this aside, when we get to the table, I go, I'm sorry, I didn't ask, how, do you know anything about the windows? They look like they're replacement windows. Oh, no, these are original, or, you know, whatever they have to say, since we bought the house, we don't know. And that's it, so the folder, and then my business cards in the front, there's a little spot for it to slip it in. I think that's it. I really should probably refresh what's in there, but I try to put a lot. I'm always selling Lynn, so it's easy for me. I'm not going, like, I love Lynn, and then the Lynn centric stuff that I have. Oh, I always do a nail filer. I do swag. I try to always, and people love the swag. So I'll give them I used to have a chip clip that said Remax, and it was a magnet, but I ran out, and now I have nail filers. I have pens that say D. Virgilio Homes. So I'll use a pen at the CMA, and then I leave the pen out behind. I stick it in the folder at the end. My father-in-law says that. He says, never go anywhere without leaving something behind. So I always want to leave something that, like, in the nail filers, I leave out my open houses. Everyone like sees, I have it says D. Virgilio Homes on mine.
Katie, I've been looking for swag lately because of some of the swag you showed. What costs the least amount but has like the best impact aside from a pen? Like, is
I was
it
gonna
the
say
nail
pen.
file?
Probably the nail filer, because people love them and they want them. So I just haven't gotten to the point to know what else to put on the nail, because they have a little, back in the day, from what I understand from Al Jr., his dad was obviously like the mayor of Lynn for a while, and he would give out nail filers, but they didn't have covers. So they would have to, they were like, oh, Al would be like, I hated sticking my hand in that box and grabbing a book, because they weren't in slips, but they're in slips now. George Koutsis was giving them out. And I love that damn file. That finally and they're not that expensive. I think the more you order, the less they cost. And the chip clips weren't bad. I don't know if you can, let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see me or not. I'll unshare here it is. We have ones that just say Remax 360. Oh, this is the Homes of MA. So I'm sorry, mine says D. Virgilio Homes here. And that's it. So it's the website. So if you have your own website and then nothing on the back and it's in a slip, Al takes them to the supermarket and puts them in people's shopping carts. Like, he really does that.
Yeah.
But during COVID, there was nothing to do but go to the grocery store. He would just take all these and stick them in the, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, the chip clips though, Erin, those were good. Those went a long way. Colby Grant gives out doggy bag holders, and it says like Colby Grant, and she gives out, and she takes her dog to Lynn Woods and everywhere, and she'll always have a couple extra on her, and people like those. I can't remember what else I gave out. Oh, I have an open house invite that I stick in the folder as well sometimes, because we'll door drop them to the neighborhood, and we walk the neighborhood and leave them at the doors. It's where I usually show them an example, and that's also a selling point to use me. We door drop to the whole neighborhood. Obviously with COVID, it's a little iffy, but anything else? I mean, you want to see me with me once? I don't think anything else. Yeah. Does anyone else have any ideas they want to share? Or swag? Oh, we
I
have
have
those
one
pins.
that I give out that is a magnetized, and I realize with refrigerators nowadays, that doesn't matter, but it tells them what to do each month, like, check your furnace, change your batteries, da, 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 da. And so that's sort of a universal thing, that it doesn't go out of favor any one year. So I have it for open houses or whatever. And those were fairly inexpensive. On the more expensive side, I like to give out a measuring tape, especially to my buyers. And on it, it says,
Ooh, that's a good one.
I measured one client at a time. I'm not looking at it right now, but anyhow, so I like coming up with what I think are cute comments, so anyhow,
I have
my
one.
performance is measured one client at a time or whatever, but that's a 25-foot measuring tape, a good one makes it. But if you buy enough of them, they're not horribly expensive.
We have these pins that we get. Obviously I'm in Lynn's with Spanish, but like, I love Lynn, I'll put them out. And then when we had the Danvers office, we had Danvers. I mean, I don't know if we ever went further than that after that, but we have a bag of these in the Lynn office that I'll give out these. I'll actually like fasten the pin onto the CMA folder on the inside. It says, I love Lynn. People like it. I don't know. Yeah, a guy that I sold the house to actually makes these. He makes one that has a thing of fluff nutter here.
Yeah.
And he's really super creative, so he can make you anything you want. And they're not that expensive. I don't know the amount offhand, but this is kind of like a thing people are doing.
Katie,
Erin, did you say you had an idea? Ruth, yep.
a couple of years ago, I made up, so they're booklets, they're about 7 by 5 inches, and there's like a leatherette cover. And I had my name and the Remax balloon, and of course the company name changed, but I'm still using them. And inside is just blank pages, lined blank pages. And on the front cover, I have the words inspection notes. So I give it to
Oh.
buyers when we get to the home inspection. I used to do pens all the time, and I would bring a bunch to the grocery store and Marshalls and places like that. I've gotten away from doing that because they're not signing slips for the most part anymore at stores, because of the chips in your credit card. But I've done pens for years. And that's the key, is to distribute them, not just to put them.
Right. Sean Gaudreau does a really good job with his pens. Have you guys seen that? He leaves them at the registry. They're at restaurants. They're everywhere. Guaranteed. Oh yeah, he does.
I used to pass them out at every restaurant I went to. Yes.
Yep. I leave mine behind everywhere. And we have Remax 360 only. And then we had the DiVirgilio home ones. I just whenever I'm filling out a lottery slip, I leave like 3. Because that's where like people need a pen. It's like, where can I leave it? I play the
Then
lottery.
the other thing I did is
I had this in the office. I took a picture of it one time. I don't know where she got it. I thought it was cute.
I have pads without a cover. They're 6 by 7, I think, and they're lined paper. Just has my name at the top and the Remax information. And I put it in the folder with the CMAs, and I take it out immediately and I say, here, take notes. And the same time, I do the same thing when I make presentations with buyers. I mean, they love it. And I say, well, now you take that home and leave it by your telephone or someplace, so that when I call you, you can take notes with it.
Yep. It's good. I like it.
Thank you
So I don't know, like obviously, Terry has a different CMA, and it's always good to go back and forth. And, but did we want to do a follow-up class where people can actually sit and build their pages together, or we want to do office to office? That's what we said.
Yeah.
I like the idea of doing like a workshop type class. We probably won't do one in all 6 locations, but definitely at least 3 locations. Yeah, we'll definitely go to Marblehead. We'll definitely go to Gloucester, and then maybe we'll do like one in Beverly for Beverly, Peabody, Danvers, or something like that.
Yeah.
We keep grouping you guys together. And then you can do I know you've done more in person with the Lynn agents already. But yeah, we'll start working on dates to do an in-person workshop.
And I think I'll bring Colby Grant, who's super familiar. So we'll have multiple people who are versed in like understanding Keynote, and Zosha obviously is always a good person to have around. So if there's more of us that know, and we all have different perspectives on Keynote, that might be a good powwow to sit and we don't necessarily have to sit close in one room we can sit throughout the office, and I think that's a good idea.
Kind of like a little classroom and teachers walking around.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, no, and then I like that a lot. I like that.
It would be awesome.
I like that.
Trying to see someone do something.
Yeah,
Soon you can have 100 people in a room.
I know, that'd be crazy.
Basically.
All right.
Thank you so
But I'm
much.
not good with PowerPoint still. I'm not that, but Zosha understands PowerPoint. So having Zosha there, she can help people with PowerPoint. Awesome. Any questions, just reach out, and we're gonna do, next week, we're doing social again. CMA only by popular demand, Canva, by popular demand. We've been asked by multiple agents. Zosha and I are gonna sit between now and then and make one template on Canva that's simple and classic looking, so that we're not jumping from there's a little, and then it's a Remax 360 template for the agents that want to use it. And then from there, we'll just probably make stuff. And if anyone has any questions, nothing really planned, just to go over the template that we're going to create for that day. I don't know how many pictures we'll do. 10? Yeah, but like an hour. Well, I mean, we can stay for 2 hours for anyone that wants to build in person on the Zoom, but, and that will probably be again out of the Beverly office, I'm assuming, because it's bigger here. Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. sorry I've missed some of the earlier ones, but I was determined to get to today's. I've never used
It's tape. If you want-
CMA. I always use the IMAX CMA and I'm used to it. It's more comfortable, but I love all the pages and I can't wait to play with the Google Drive docs.
Yeah, yeah. We gotta get more into the Google Drive, I think.
I don't
Good.
use Google Drive as a typically, so, but I really appreciate all the additional templates and
Yeah, and we hope to have more and more. That, like, we want to have a robust, we want to have a lot of stuff, but, we gotta start somewhere, so this is where we're starting, and then hopefully we'll have a lot more options.
Unmute. Another thing I wanted to mention too, when we're talking about workshops and one-on-one support, is that we are going to have another round of interns at some point. I had a virtual job fair with Endicott earlier this week. And we are hoping to have someone who's specifically a social media expert who can go around and give one-on-one support. It's going to be, we'll probably have more people available. So we're hoping that for agents who want one-on-one support, we'll have some people who are specialized just in social media and can help you one-on-one with your website and your Canva and your posts and all that. Where, Yoshi and Lydia had very broad responsibility with us because it was all new for everybody. We'll probably have a little bit more.
Yoshi,
She's here today in the office. Yay. They really got to do everything. We are going to have some people who have like more specific roles that will be able to give support and, head over to the Marblehead office and be in the training room for the day and build stuff for you and do stuff one-on-one. And so we're hoping to continue to expand upon that. So we just had a virtual job fair earlier this week and I'm starting to collect resumes. Not sure, some people might be available during the summer, but we'll definitely should have a nice size group for the fall. So we're looking forward to continuing to have those great students provide us with some more support.
Cool. I think that's a wrap. Awesome. Hopefully we'll see everybody next week.
And I'll send an
Thank
email.
you.
thank you.
Yep. Ruth, if you need to see the first class, Carolyn can send it to you.
Yes, no, I know. Yep, thank you. But I'm just